Helmets are for safety. Welcome back to Random, and today we're going to be talking about a relatively interesting development in F1, something that actually started back in 2009 with the Williams F1 team, the kinetic energy recovery system, which was later updated in 2014 to the energy recovery system. So we're going to be talking a little bit about those innovations, but first, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and if you enjoy cold beverages and groovy tunes, check out Beer and Song of the Day. The link to their channel will be in the description down below. And also, if you're on Twitch, check out Scooptheavenger. He's a video game streamer and a friend of the channel. Any attention you can give to him and his channel and his endeavors would be greatly appreciated. Now, as I said, back in 2009, the Williams F1 team, let me get my editor's notes here. He finally did his job for once. The Williams F1 team came up with an idea of using flywheels to help collect kinetic energy under braking so that it can then be used to help a car accelerate out of a turn. Now, how this happened was they would use solenoids and different springs and different switches and micro switches to engage a clutch that was on the front wheels and in some cases the rear wheels of the car. So under braking, the flywheels would engage, the clutches would engage and start spinning up the flywheels. And after the brake pedal was released, that clutch would disengage and the flywheel would input its kinetic energy to the wheel it's attached to, and it would effectively pull the car out of a corner. For all intents and purposes, it made Formula One cars all-wheel drive for between 5.5 and 6 seconds per lap. Now, unfortunately, this added a little bit of weight to the car. Flywheels are known to be a little on the heavy side depending on what their intended application is, and it also affected the balance of the car if, say, during a race something were to jump up off the track like a rock or something like that and it impacted on the flywheel. It would cause the balance to come out, to be thrown off, and it would affect the performance of the system. So that was one drawback. The other drawback, of course, being that there was an upper limit to how much energy those flywheels could store and then impart back into the wheels that they are driving. The early system provided an extra 80 horsepower, what was called brake horsepower, basically all the power that actually gets to the wheel, that's brake horsepower in a car. It added 80 horsepower for a maximum of 6.6 seconds per lap, meaning you could hold basically the power on button or the boost button for a maximum of 6.5 seconds before you would have to brake again to build that energy back up in the flywheel to be able to use it again at another corner. So again, a little bit heavier, a little bit more maintenance intensive, and ultimately not that efficient, but a revolutionary idea. So in 2014, Formula One got together and said, all right, well, this is a good idea. How do we improve on it? And so they thought, well, why don't we use dynamic braking and turn each of the 4 wheels on the Formula One car into a generator motor assembly so that when the driver hits the brakes, effectively what happens is it takes the kinetic energy of the car and turns all 4 wheels into electric generators and store that power for when you release the brake and want to start accelerating again. The brake pedal is released, you hit the accelerator, and instead of using all the horsepower of the engine to get you back up to speed, now you have all the horsepower of the engine and all 4 wheels pulling you out of a corner. That system was called the energy recapture system, and it was developed back in 2014. Most Formula One teams use that system now. The difference between them, again, it's all electric instead of having kinetic flywheels. So you use all electric power, much more efficient, much easier to handle, and ultimately it's a lot more powerful. The ERS system adds an additional 160 horsepower for 33 seconds per lap, which when you're talking an F1 car is actually pretty incredible. Now, how that system works, again, you have 4 generators. You have 1 on each wheel, and you have a thermocouple on the hot side of the turbo. Now, a thermocouple uses the differences of temperatures and metals to generate electricity. That electricity is then channeled down to the motors to be used during under acceleration. Now, how is that energy stored for the ERS? Well, technically it's a capacitor. Now, Formula One would actually call it a battery, but it's really not. See, a battery stores a lot of electricity to be used over an extended period of time. What it actually is a capacitor. Now, a capacitor does pretty much the exact same thing as a battery. There's just one difference. It stores a lot of energy and then releases it very quickly. So instead of having, let's say, 12 volts at 30 amps delivered over hours and hours, a capacitor would have 12 volts at 100 amps delivered in 30 seconds, which is approximately how long you would have to boost for those motors. So you're coming along, you're driving, you hit the brake pedal. The first thing that engages it is the generators on all 4 corners and not the brakes. So you're collecting that kinetic energy as an electric energy potential. And then as you come to the apex of the turn, that's when your brakes actually start to engage. You start to lose a little bit more speed. You release the brakes, and then you hit the accelerator, and now you maintain a higher exit speed of the corner using all 4 wheels to pull you through and accelerate you past another opponent, past another part of the track, and ultimately, hopefully, to first place on the final lap. Again, a lot more efficient, a lot more powerful, 160 horsepower over what the engine actually produces for a period of about 30 seconds per lap. So very efficient, very powerful. Now, this system is actually being developed and used on hybrids and in some all-electric vehicles on the streets. So when you release the accelerator and start applying the brake, the motors in your car, the electric motors, become electric generators, and that energy is stored back in the vehicle's main battery to be used later on. So pretty innovative system. If you got anything out of this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. It helps the channel. Tell my editor what he's doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing right. And as always, folks, keep it random.